Well, good evening again. And first thing we want to do is a sound check. So we're going to pause for a minute. We're on the study group page. Dr. Renee is going to text our media tech. And if anyone come back on, just let us know if our sound is good. And Dr. Renee will check hers also.
Right.
And the thump check is always best. Sound working now.
Woo-hoo!
Okay, Renee, could you please just tap your mic just to be sure? Because these mics are very powerful. You just hear. Okay.
There.
All right. That's good.
All right.
All right. So again, we appreciate everyone on the study group page. We wanted to bring this particular session to the study group page because we want to keep it informal and on a study level like that. So whether you married, single, used to be married, going to be married, in between, or whatever.
Don't want to be married.
Right. The teaching is for you, believe me. Because people who are not married need to know some things about marriage so they can respect married people. Family members need to know about the marriage relationship and covenant so they can have more respect for other family members and other people that are married. That's going to help out a lot. So if you're not married, just stay on. You're going to learn something either way. And we want to come to the study group page. And while we're going, if you want to post a question, that's great to add to what we already got.
We may be able to get to it. We may not, just because of time constraints. We do have a list of questions. Those questions were generated by people inside of our ministry and outside of the ministry. So just want to say that we appreciate those who were able to get those questions in. And we're going to do our best to address them on tonight. And if we are not able to get to all of them, I hate when my voice goes, Okay. But anyway, if we're not able to address all of them, we'll be sure to do a part 2. All right. So we want to get started?
Yep.
All right. So question number 1. My spouse sometimes is secretive in making business decisions for our family. What should I do What should I do to better support? Because normally this causes trust issues with me when this is done. Small things matter to me. Small things grow into big things. All right. So it says my spouse sometimes is secretive in making business decisions for our family. And what should I do?
All right. So on that end right there, well, we have to always, this is what could be happening right here. And that is, and it does happen because we typically we're going to marry our weakness. And what I mean by that, where I'm weak at, I'm going to marry someone who will strengthen me in that area. So I could have said we marry our strength, but that strength is there. We are opposites and we have different areas that's going to help assist in the other area. Now, relative to Isha, or the wife, Negad, the name that Elohim gave the woman, Isha, was Matzah, Ezer, Negad, and that's in Bereshit, which called Genesis 2:20. When you look at the original language, it's going to say, but for Adam, Matzah, Ezer, Negad. Not that wasn't found. Matter of fact, Matzah means to be found, to find something that's very valuable. So Ezer means a person who have all the necessary tools to assist another in fulfilling their vision or to make it happen. And it's more than just a helper, but that helper, your wife, women have what's needed for a man to complete the vision that Elohim has given him. So if the wife may be more knowledgeable in that area of business and can make decisions, or the husband may be more knowledgeable in that area and can make decisions, but at the same time, there are no secrets in marriage.
Right.
The marriage covenant relationship requires unity. It requires openness. So if the two of you have agreed that those decisions can be made because this person knows more about it, then that's one thing. But if you're doing stuff and they say it's secretive, I'm sorry. It's like going behind somebody's back.
Right.
Doing something. You don't do that. Marriage decisions are made by the both. The final, if it go in a different directions, the husband does have make the final decision on what's going to happen there, because the husband is the visionary and the wife is a supportive visionary for one vision in the family. So to be that way is to break in the covenant of agreement, is breaking the covenant of confidence, is breaking the covenant of trust. And trust is like an account.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Trust is like an account. Once you break that person's trust, you are withdrawing from that account. And guess what? Sometimes trust accounts get overdrawn, and that is not the goal. We don't want those accounts to be overdrawn. In fact, we want to build it up. So the question was asking if the business decision is made. Sometimes decisions have to be made right then. And so if you are unable to get in contact with your spouse, and then later on you get the opportunity to talk to them as soon as you can, and even that, talk about
that agreement needs
amounts.
to be made
Yes.
prior to.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Make the agreement that if something happened, you go to make the decision.
Right.
I trust you in this area. You know what you're doing. You don't have to, come to me on that. Just go ahead and do it. But the agreement is made.
Yeah.
But to just go do something that you all never agreed on, that's the vision. That vision. Now you're creating that vision, two visions in the home, because whoever your spouse may be, husband or wife, they're going to start doing things on their own. So it's a violation of the covenant agreement of unity and oneness to do stuff like that.
Okay. And also, let me add this. Make sure you are not micromanaging your spouse.
Right.
Because your spouse, you married your spouse, so undoubtedly you trust them. So with that,
Hopefully.
hopefully,
Some people married don't trust each other.
you didn't just marry for booty bucks.
We're just gonna assume.
Did you hear what I said?
I heard
you didn't just marry for booty bucks. Okay, so hopefully you trust that person. And what was I saying about that? Because you
about trusting them and not micromanaging.
Don't micromanage them. So
right, just want
that.
Okay, yeah. So
All
that
right.
should be enough on that, because each question we can
expound on
on it and go further and further, but we're not. Okay, the number 2, you read that one. I'm gonna read this one since I know how to read. Okay, my spouse gets upset. I read better since I've been with her. Gets upset, offended, or sad by something I say every day. That house is on fire. Let me say this right even before we finish reading this. When you have a situation like this, that house is on fire. It's on fire. All right. My intentions are never to do so. I am usually just joking around, but I feel like I cannot be myself because of this. Should I practice on choosing my words more wisely, or is it that my spouse has a bad perception of me and what I'm trying to convey? Okay, now again, for those that's coming on, if you're not married, you still can stay on this particular session we're having, because people who are not married, the more you know about marriage prior to you get married is going to help you out. Number 2, it'll help you better respect those who are married. All right. So whether you're married or not, you can stay on this session, and we appreciate you so much. So with this particular one right here, as I said, the house is already on fire.
Yeah.
Because that's terrible for someone to be upset or getting sad every day or getting offended every day. That's a deep emotional problem that the spouse have, and not the person who presented the question. Let me say, whoever presented the question really doesn't matter. But the second part of this, they said that I'm usually just joking around.
Yeah.
But now I can't be myself. And should I practice on choosing my words more wisely? Or is it that my spouse has a bad perception of me and what I'm trying to do? So if whoever's in those shoes right here, actually you're borderline in emotional abuse and rejection, because you are taking the blame for everything, and really you are not the blame, because you're just joking, and whomever is doing it is just joking around and making every effort, to just be themselves and be natural, and then the spouse is getting sad or offended every day, sad and offended every day. So the person who is getting sad or offended every day, and you just joking with them, they have some serious emotional damage. I can sense offense being there for real. Offense is there. you know, and then the sadness, depression is there. So it's some spiritual forces operating there to destroy that person that you are married to, and you getting all of the backlash from it.
Yeah. Also, what I wanted to add, in addition to what you were saying, when I read this, I immediately said, well, it really sounds like this person's spouse needs to grow up. Because if I am easily offended by everything, that's saying that, okay, there are areas that I haven't really let go of in the past. I may be having some regrets about this particular marriage. Maybe I want to get out of it, and I'm having like, I don't know if I want to do this. Why are you in my face anyway? Those type of things. So yeah, that spouse needs to really grow up. Look, we're in this thing now. Look, y'all see this? We're fighting for the family. We're fighting for our marriages. And so when we say that we have to make sure that we have positioned ourselves to actually do what we said that we were going to do. Sometimes we don't know how to do it. And so when Dr. Larry was saying that the house is on fire, many times when we are having marital problems, a couple's having marital problems, they wait until the house is totally on fire, burned down, and then they bring us the ashes.
Because they don't want nobody to know my business. I'm grown, I can handle this, but you messing it up.
That part.
And primarily, no offense, black people do that. White person will go immediately for counsel. Quickly. Quick, fast, and in a hurry, but it's just, we got to just get better. Now, let me say this. It's two different areas we dealt with now. What Dr. Renee was saying, grow up, because you got pouting grown people that are married that pout a lot. And because they want to get their way, then they get sad. They're really not sad, as being manipulative, or they getting offended because they really want to get their way because they're really immature. But you're married, so you got to grow up now. Right.
It worked when they were 7. It worked when they were 12.
And it's still, and they bringing it over.
But it's time out for that.
Right. Because if you, and the reason I want to make sure we understand that it's two scenarios here. Make a judgment, which is actually mean discernment, a difference between the two. Because if the person have some emotional trauma, or has gotten offended and got the pain of depression that keep coming up, they are sick. And if they sick, they don't know how to grow up. So if they are sick, they need help. And then if they are pouty, they need to grow up. So you got two different, and you have to be discerning and find out which one it is. So this particular spouse is getting offended and sad is either manipulative due to immaturity and is still, playing games, or the person really needs some serious help. I mean, quick, fast, in a hurry, because if they were not married, I mean, who knows what position or condition they would be in at this particular time. It could be this person still trying to joke around, make them feel better is the only thing savaging in them. So that's why I want to make sure we understand that you could have very serious situation here. And on the other end, the person's immature and pouty and need to grow up, and but that's a process also. It's a process, and that growing up process is they need some directions in how to grow up.
So get counseling. And if you are already getting counseling, continue to get counsel and check in and get those touch-ups, things that's needed, because you don't want to have a long time span before those accountability times where you just check in. Right.
And then along with counseling, see, there's most likely an absence of a father and mentor in spirit, or person with their father in spirit, or the absence of a mother, a person that have a mother in spirit, that dealing with their childhood and growing up. It's a lot of damaged people that are married. Believe me. And for the black community, black Americans, we are yet damaged, severely damaged from the harm inflicted during the 460 years of slavery, semi-slavery, Jim Crow area, and systemic racism that's present right now. So there's a lot of emotional damage that black Americans are recovering from. So we have to look at that, and then we go get married with all this stuff.
And
we just bring all these bags in here, and we're married now. And the key to successful marriage is knowledge. It's not love. I'm sorry, it's knowledge. So that's why we was mentioning the counseling is going to get that person there. If they're in the category of being depressed and highly offended, and holding bitterness, they need one-on-one counseling before they need married counseling. They need one-on-one as an individual. And we have done this. Listen, we don't need to talk to both of y'all. You got some personal issues we need to get resolved. You got some personal, or it may be just one, it may be both, and then we've had to do that and bring them together. So that's a very serious thing. And the person who is just joking around and trying to, be on a good behavior based on this question that was asked, don't you take the blame. And because what you're going to do, you're going to feel rejected, and you're going to try to be accepted by someone who is rejecting you. And that's what causes emotional abuse.
Yes.
It's just like physical abuse. Okay. Number 3.
All right. Number 3, how do you not let past worldly sexual experiences, the effects of past porn addiction and or sexual abuse, etc., affect your intimacy or sex in your marriage? How do you deal with that part?
Don't look at me.
You the senior pastor.
1 Corinthians 6 and 16. Is that what we said? 1 Corinthians 6 and 16?
Yeah, 1 Corinthians 6 and 16.
Yeah.
How do you not let past worldly sexual experiences, the effects of past porn addiction, and or sexual abuse, etc., affect your intimacy, sex in your marriage? Okay,
how do you do this? Actually, let's just deal with the question. We did, what is it, number 3? Yeah. Everything that was mentioned are soul ties that need to be broken prior to the marriage. So you say it's how do you, in your marriage, past one addiction, abuse affect your intimacy. So you're married now. I mean, deal with it before you get married.
If all possible. That's what he's saying. But we know that you're married now, so we're here.
Yeah, right. So if you're married now, then you got soul ties.
Yes.
Soul ties to the pornographic naked women, images of naked women,
or
images of naked men, or
or both.
Or both. You got those images in there, and those are soul ties.
Yes.
They got you bound, they got you tied up. Now, if you're married now, but you're still dealing with this because it's still in your belief system. Is in your psyche. As a person think, so are they. So you got to change what you are thinking about. That's your philosophy, and our philosophy is my battery low. It's sure.
It is.
Our philosophy. Well, I can use that. Our philosophy is are the thoughts. Philo, love, philosophy, knowledge are the thoughts that we love and we think about all the time, and we are a product of what we think. That's why I said it's an emotional, mental, it's a soul tie. It's emotional and mental. We're going to read 1 Corinthians 6 and 16.
Okay.
Now, we're talking practical, but all the talk that we are doing is based on kingdom concepts that we have in us. Those concepts, con mean to agree, and sept mean thought. So we agree with the thoughts of the kingdom precepts. Pre mean before, or original, and sept mean thought. So the kingdom precepts that we have accepted and agree with, those are the concepts that we're teaching by. So everything that we are saying is based on that. Now, soul ties, and we did go to YouTube. As a matter of fact, one of our most viewed YouTube teaching is the one on soul ties. Yeah. I can't stop thinking about it.
Right.
So 1 Corinthians, your head is off the screen now. When you sit up,
I'm sorry.
When you sit up, it got big and everything.
You calling me big head?
No, because when you lean up, it got. Okay, so 1 Corinthians 6 and 16. Here's what's going on.
You always wanted to call me big head, didn't
you? Knowledge is the key to successful marriage. And here's knowledge. Let's go, Renee. Read that.
Do you not know that he who unites himself with a prostitute is one with her in body? For it is said, the two will become one flesh. But whoever is united with Yahweh is one with him in spirit.
Mm-hmm. So catch the principle here. When any time someone is intimate with someone, that tie forms. That's what he is saying. He said when you become one with that prostitute, you're one with her body. And then if you're united with Adonai, our owner, Lord, another word for Lord is own. In this instance is Jehovah, and then sometimes you see it as Adonai. All right, so it's just like that's why marriage is so important, not to have sex or be intimate prior to, because when you do that, you become one with that person emotionally.
Yes.
And it's the design of Elohim for us to be only tied to one person, and we won't have all those issues, thoughts, and memories and stuff like that. So if you're married now, you have to go back and break those soul ties. You have to break it, number one, by changing what you're thinking about. And in order to do that, you got to go in reverse, what we call the 6-stage conformity. There's original idea, and these are kingdom concepts. There's original idea. Okay, this is how we get this is how we get to the state we are in our lives. Okay, we receive idea. We hear a thought. We accept it. We agree with it. That becomes our concept. I agree with that thought. My concepts will produce convictions. That's my belief system and what I think is actually true, and I act upon it. So my conviction is in my belief system. All those convictions in my belief systems, that's what my faith, that's what my confidence, that's what I trust. Our whole system is full of ideals, or what you call ideology. Mm-hmm. Now, my belief system, those convictions that I have, I think about what's in my belief system all the time. That's my philosophy as a person thinks. So are they now? Here's my lifestyle. So you have to go in reverse. If you're still tied to all of this stuff and it's affecting you now, and you're just wrestling with all this stuff, because that's your lifestyle, you have to go back to what you're thinking about. What you're thinking about is what's in your belief system, is in there. It came from a concept, an idea that you received. So you got to go in reverse, change what you are hearing, what you're receiving. In order to do that, you got to change the original thought or idea, what you're receiving. Don't listen to those sources anymore. You have to cut those off, but that's not good enough. You got to receive a different or better thought. And that is relative to how sacred intimacy is and how the Father viewed it between a couple, a man, born man, and a woman who was born a woman, like that. And, you deal with your thoughts. Once you deal with your thoughts, then you take control of your body. And see, in 1 Corinthians, Sheol said, I buffet my body, I bring it under. Our bodies have to be brought and disciplined and brought under control. So we have to break the soul ties. And again, I just suggest you listen to that message we got. Is one of the most highly viewed videos we got on YouTube, dealing with soul ties, and that's going to help you out to get you out of that. It's not okay. It's not okay to have vibrators and oil and grease and all this stuff and playing with yourself and saying, well, I'm a grown adult, I can make conscious decisions, and we are sexual beings, and we are adults, and God Elohim created this. All of that stuff, you can't find none of it in Scripture. You can't find none of those ideals in the Scripture. Mm-hmm. So you got to start off like that. And the society, the culture that we in, is inundated with sexual activity, sexual promiscuity, sexual freedom.
Right.
It's the culture. Yeah. It's the culture of the world society. That's why you see people promoting their sexual attributes, promoting being sexy, promoting I'm sexy. It's just, if you're not sexy, it's like you nobody. You don't look good if you're not sexy.
Exactly.
If you're not revealing yourself and doing this kind of stuff, then you have nothing, and that's not the kingdom. The king doesn't think that way.
Right.
That is not the culture of the kingdom. That is the culture of this darkness in the world. So hopefully we have said enough on that to help out some on that.
Yes. Okay.
What is that one? Have you communicated? Okay. I'm up too high. That was number 3.
That was number 3. And the only other thing that I wanted to add to number 3, sorry about all of that. When dealing with that, if you have been sexually abused, we didn't really deal with that portion. In fact, there's an entire teaching that I am getting ready to do after it's released or whatever concerning that, because sometimes you have what's called triggers. And so, but we still have a responsibility to pull down those thoughts. It says, and bring every thought to subject to Elohim's word. So we have to make sure that we're doing that. When those things happen, maybe you feel like you're totally healed, and then something happens to remind you of what has happened in the past. What do you do then? Well, then we have to take authority over it. We have to make sure that we submit that to the Father and deal with him and rebuke the enemy. You know, say something. You don't just think about it in your mind, but you have to speak to those spirits that are coming against you. So I wanted to make sure that we dealt with that, because it is not later. It is not your husband's fault. It is not your wife's fault if you have experienced that abuse and that happened way before them. So it is not a good idea to punish them for doing something that they did not do. So I just wanted to make sure that I addressed that as well.
And the reason she hitting it, because in the question it says past porn addiction and or sexual abuse, etc. So we got to move. We're going to move on from this question, because that question itself is several sessions right there by itself, because that's deep, you know, is embedded in a lot of people that are in relationships. Because if a person, again, we're going to move on from it, have been through sexual abuse, and then you got married and never got past that, then actually you went into the marriage in an improper way.
Right.
And we say this, you know, and like I said, that's why I want to set a group page, because you got to have tough skin to be on this page. It's not a page for debating. I'll delete a person in a minute, quick, fast, in a hurry. I have zero tolerance for that. So if you are married now, and that's where we are, you know, because we've been getting requests for this, and we've been, you know, trying to get around to it. If you go into a marriage with all of these issues, actually you went into a marriage in an improper way. Really never should have got married, you know, until all these issues were resolved, because you have to go in. Two clean people go in with no baggage. So now we're dealing with the baggage that has been brought in. Okay.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be wonderful if everybody, you know, just went in the marriage like they were supposed to? Well, you know, sometimes that doesn't happen. So we appreciate your question for those who submitted the questions. And so make sure that if you hear something and you know that you submitted the question, we say that you need to seek counseling, we are available. Make sure that you do that part as well. And then for those who are not married, that's the other point why you said that.
You already, okay.
Okay. Now, for those who are not married, then because I like to complete that whole thought, so I won't feel like I'm being, you know the deal, because you.
I really don't, because I'm just
you dwell with me
repeating stuff, and you know. You say it your way, and I say it my way.
For those who are not married, basically, he's saying this as a preventive measure. That's the complete thought. Right, okay.
Right.
I'm ready.
Right, because you was in there, I was saying that. Number 4.
Okay.
How do you conquer communication barriers without making I think 4 and 5 they're kind of similar. They're together. How do you conquer communication barriers without making the problems worse? And then number 5 is, how do you go about having conversation that you know are touchy with your spouse, if you know that they will most likely get mad and argue? Is it right to avoid it? So we got, I think, 3 things. You see it? Processing.
Yes, these are the 3.
Processing, unforgiveness, and there was another one on mine. I just closed it down on. So communication is processing. Let me lift this up. Processing is number 1. You want to start talking about that processing?
Yeah, processing. Well, first of all, we realize that men are dial-up and we are high speed. So sometimes, and we say that jokingly, but men, they need that time to process, think it out until they get that answer. And then women, we try to process through communicating. We want to talk about it. You know, as a matter of fact, we want to talk about it. Most of the time, we want to talk about it right then, but that may not be the best time to do it. So with that in mind, if Dr. Larry, if he's having an issue with something, I'm gonna make him the bad bear right now. If he has an issue and he needs time to think about it, then I need to respect that and give him that time. All right. And so because he needs time to think about it, process, until he gets that answer, then we come together. And then sometimes you just need to cool off a little bit.
Yeah. We put it like this: men we call cavemen.
Yes.
And then women are high-speed internet. And even in our brains are made different. Women have more modules that send more signals at one time in their brain. Isn't that something? And you thought you was the smartest one. Okay. Now, and then men, we have less to send signals. And men, we're more logical. Women are more susceptible spiritually and being sensitive to emotions and stuff like that. They have all of that extra stuff just for us. Isn't that amazing? But, so they can do it faster, and they do it like Renee said, primary through communication. We do it.
It's Dr. Renee.
Do what?
Dr. Renee.
Dr. Renee. Okay, Renee said, and we just kidding around because we just kidding around.
I'm gonna leave him alone. Go ahead.
And we are what I call cave dwellers. Remember David? He was in the cave of Adullam.
Right.
The cave of and in that, while he was in that cave, he built a army, attracted 400 men who were in trouble. They were in debt. They were having emotional problems, marriage problems, and things like that. And David was able to minister to them and build them up because David had that time alone. He was alone in the cave, and the Father actually had men to come to him to build them up. So we are made like that to process through thinking, because we are hunters and conquerors by nature.
Yeah.
And we need to figure this thing out. It's not really us, because the scripture says, lean not to your own understanding, acknowledge him in all your ways and he'll direct your path. Well, it take time to quiet down and do that thing. And we're not talking about taking 3 or 4 days or
no, absolutely not.
A couple of hours, stuff like that. Not talking, not speaking.
Oh, no.
Sit back just a little bit, baby.
Okay.
There you go. And not speaking and things of that nature, because right here it says, if you want to talk to them about a touchy situation, let's go to this one. They most likely get mad or argue. Say that word? Argue. Yes.
Bring me your lips. Let me show you how.
So should I avoid it? Okay. So we're not going into depth. We touching them, processing. Women process things different. Talk, communication. Men have to think it out. And in marriage, the key to a successful marriage, again, is knowledge. So if we know about each other, how we're made up, in First Kepha 3 said, husband, live with your wives according to, not love, according to knowledge. Okay, so it's right there. Now, only thing about, if it's a touchy subject, that subject need to be touched. If it's still touchy, it's that way because someone, again, is offended.
Yeah.
And someone is holding a grudge, or someone, is doing something they don't have no business doing, and they don't want to stop, so they don't want you to approach them in that area. And they gotta be approached and confronted, because you are married now. You are not mama's little boy that do what he want to do. You ain't daddy's little girl to get what you want. It's not like that anymore. You're married now.
Right.
And you have a responsibility to be accountable to your husband, be accountable to your wife. There are no secrets. She's not going to change your diapers. He is not going to buy you some earrings and plait your hair. You're adults now. Some things have to be dealt with differently.
I agree.
Okay?
Yes.
All right. So that's how you do that, and offense keep coming up. Let me give you the meaning for offense. And that Hebrewic perception of the word offense is actually an example, is that in a particular area in Africa, the way they catch the monkeys, some people eat monkeys, and the way they catch the monkey, they build this cage, and they cut a hole in it, and they put a fruit in there. The hole is small enough for the monkey to get his hand in there. Right. And when the monkey grabs the fruit is bigger than the hole. So if the monkey hold on to the fruit, he can't get his hand back out the hole, and they just come beat him upside the head and kill him. Now the monkey could get away if he let go of the fruit. Getting offended is the same way. Once a person get offended, it's up to them to let it go so that they won't suffer all that emotional damage. Yeshua said, woe to the person whom offense passed through. It's not talking about the initiator of it. He was talking about the one who allowed it to pass through into them and remain in them. And then when you get offended, it's like, and I did an example in teaching. I got a book I just haven't printed, about offense. It's like just having this big bear trap on your head. It's like a slow, painful death. Offense is not designed to kill you. It's designed to have you suffering emotionally and constantly going through pain and like this oozing wound that's in your head. That's what offense is. And it's so bad that this is what the enemy used to get into the mind of Massa Izenigad in the beginning. He got her offended at the Father, our Heavenly Father. And then Adon got offended. They got offended. Oh, he got holding something from us. Oh, okay. All right. So we're just going to listen to this then. They got offended. And what happened? Slow death. And it was painful what happened to them. So in marriages, in relationships, we're dealing with, Renee is a person. I am a person. I have to deal with her just like I deal with anybody else. I have to make room for her faults. She has to make room for my faults. I forgive her. She forgive me. If it's 7 times 70, then we do it. And there's a teaching in that by itself. But we do that. We treat each other just like Yeshua taught us to treat each other. That's how we handle stuff like that. And I don't know why when it happens a lot and we hear it a lot. When people get married, they feel that all of a sudden you're never going to get offended or something. But it happens. So this somebody's offended, somebody doing something they got no business doing. That's why when you bring it up, they get mad because they know they wrong.
Get on the defense.
And get on the defense.
Don't really want to deal with that issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, like Renee was saying, like Dr. Renee was saying, is that it's not that you remember you was mentioning a part about, they get on the defense. It was something else you had said. It was something else you said about this. We'll come back to it. It'll come back up. Okay. All right. So we're going to come back up, then I'll mention it. But we're going to move to another question and get another one in.
All right. So let's see. Number 6. Okay. How do you deal with...
Wait a minute. I know what it was.
So you just
because I told you, it's going to come up.
Just gonna
What it is, some things you don't need to be trying to force the issue to talk about it. That's what it was.
Okay.
You're just going to just force it. Now let's talk about this right now. The person mad. They angry. They're upset. Now you're going to get the fight now.
Yeah.
Because you want to force the issue. So we have to be careful about that. Now go ahead, babe.
Okay. Well, since you brought that up, I do want to say this. When in the beginning stages of our marriage, when Dr. Larry, when he said that he needed time, I'm like, time? What you talking about time? No, I want to talk about this right now, today, right now. And so I had to learn how to wait. And that took me I had to grow up in that area because I wanted to just go ahead and talk about it. But I had to respect him and respect that that's not how he wanted to deal with it. Okay, I need to be mature about it. And so now I'm like, oh, you need time? Okay, well, let me know when you're ready. And at one time I would say an hour would go by. Are you ready? I'll go back and he's like, no, not quite. Okay. So now I'm to the point, I have plenty I can do. Okay. I have a lot I can do. I'm going to give him his time and allow him that time so that when we do come together, during that time while I'm waiting, I'm getting myself together.
Right.
I want to make sure that when we do connect, when we do come together, that I have the right mindset, that I'm not saying, oh, so now you want to talk. No, I don't want to talk now. I want to talk to you 2 hours ago. So now you want to talk to me? Talk to the hand. Shouldn't show that hand.
Yeah, she don't know what you get on your head. what you been into?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So, And of course, Renee didn't do what she said and go through. She didn't do that. One thing I got to
I
give
didn't
her.
do what? Yes, I did.
What about told me? Oh, you want to talk to me now? You never told me that.
Oh no, I was
No.
thinking it.
Yeah, she never told me that because one thing about her, and I tell her this often, that she really have a love for the word, and she want to please the Father, and that's what I always respected her very high, because she just wouldn't get in the flesh, and she would just say okay, you know, and just do it, you know. And then what helped her when we talked about processing, you know, and then another thing that helped, and I, you know, because we was counseling someone and you helped them in this area, that while I was thinking about this thing, not taking all day, not running off and all this kind of stuff, but she wasn't constantly thinking about that. Right. And then it bugged her. She was getting herself together. Yeah. All right. So that was a huge thing.
We didn't mention that part about running off.
Right. I think it's in one of the questions too.
I don't know, but it's not a good idea. If you are having conflict, you know, it's not a good idea for anybody to leave unless somebody's trying to do bodily harm. But it's not a good idea to leave, because when you leave, I mean, you're opening the door to the enemy. Anybody can be right out there, and that person can say exactly what you need to hear at that particular time. And that person is not sent by Elohim. That could be the enemy trying to plant somebody in your path. So just make sure that you just stay on guard from that, and don't be, I just had enough, and then you leave for a week. What?
Yeah, jump in and out, leaving town.
No, sir. No, ma'am.
I don't. But anyway, you know, it's just some stuff I don't know. But you know, people do stuff, but they need more. We need more knowledge. That's what it is. I don't leave and go nowhere and think, or just drive around the city then come back home. I don't go to the fish lake and think. You know, I be right in the house. I be thinking though. And she don't be bugging me about it. Or I may be doing something, she don't be bugging me about it.
Bug you?
Yeah. And
would I ever bug you?
And see what I did. This is what I would say. And I deal with her just like she would deal with me. I said, Renee, well, I'm angry right now. And if I talk about it, I'm going to say something that's going to hurt you, and I don't want to hurt you. And then she said, for real, you mad? I said, yeah, I'm mad. You know,
this is how he talking while he mad.
Cause
I'm like, you mad? Oh, okay.
And she be talking about, you really get mad? I said, yeah. She said, you're always the cool one and all settled. I said, yeah, you sure was cool.
Well, I'm not like that. When I get mad, you know I'm mad.
Like my elder brother. You know, it's not bragging. It's just through maturity and stuff. I just leave stuff on the outside, and I'm gonna keep my peace on the inside. And I just let all that drama stay on the outside. And I said, yeah, I'm actually angry.
Did you say drama?
Yeah, drama, anger. Uncontrolled anger or extended anger go into drama, because the scripture said, don't let the anger go down your wrath. But he wasn't talking about damaging yourself and stuff like that, and, you know, tripping and flipping. Okay, so is your time to read a question?
Yes. Number 6, how do you deal with family upbringing from differences from different cultures? How do you deal with that? And then I thought there was one that was similar to that. Okay, all right. How do you deal with family upbringing from differences of cultures?
Now culture means set of behavior patterns, code of ethics, of music. Different cultures live different music, different eating habits. You know, main dishes. You know, fashions. All of that is culture. We need to understand all that's culture. And if you're born into it, it's designed to develop you and produce you and make you a product of their culture. We all are products of our culture. This is why it's so important we understand the kingdom concepts. Yeah. We're here to bring the culture of heaven and expand it in the earth, and never allow earth or the culture of the world to expand in us. Like the sexual attitudes and sex and all this stuff, that is not the culture of the kingdom. That's the culture of the world. That is not the behavior. Sex is not the driving factor in the kingdom of heaven, and being sex and looking good and popping and dropping, all that kind of stuff.
Please look good. We're not trying to tell you to be an ignoramus. We're not saying that. We're just saying,
because my wife looked very, you know.
We're saying your sexiness, my sexiness is for him. It's not to be displayed for everybody else. So I want to be the sexiest for him. Right. Only I see that. Right. He wants to be the sexiest for me. Everything else, you know, that's okay.
Right. That's okay. You know, listen, and you know what I'm saying is that because I hear a lot of believers say, "Ooh, you sexy." And I'm thinking they really don't know that. But anyway, dealing with this right here, I was explaining what culture is, and if you, someone, a Bahamian or someone, they were brought up in a different culture, so they're a product of their culture. Now, and when you get born again, everybody should focus on being a product of the culture of the kingdom. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yes.
So when you're blending, you have to understand each other's background and where you came from. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if you keep the culture of the kingdom as a priority, everything will blend. It'll come into one because your main focus is to behave like the kingdom, like the word is instructing you to behave. Your main thing is to do the same thing. So you can actually, different cultures can make a strong, can be a strong point for the both of the people there. But if you're trying to drag somebody over into your culture and they're trying to drag you over in that, then they still of the world. You know, it's got to be the culture of the kingdom. That's where you work on it. Just like Bahamians, you know, rice and beans and tropical climates, their main meals, they love rice and beans, they love jerk chicken and stuff like that. And then there's other cultures, you may love fish and stuff like that. Well, why can't we go to a seafood place? Or why can't we go to a place and then, you know, and you just come together and you mix it. You blend it and you use the culture of the kingdom as a priority. And that means you all getting along and loving one another.
It's funny because when we first got married, I would always have white rice and I would put my greens on top of my rice because that's how we were raised. That's how we do it in Savannah, Georgia. And so when I kept fixing his plate and he was like, why do you keep putting my greens on top of my rice? What are you doing? I'm like, what you talking about? That's how it's supposed to be eaten. He's like, I don't eat my greens like that. He likes his cornbread and all mixed up together. Right. So it wasn't no huge problem. We didn't argue. She just quit putting rice on the greens. I just stopped putting rice on his. But for me, you know, we still do the little greens and rice. Now, if your culture also, I'm using this just an example because in the islands or the Caribbean islands or something like that, they drink rum. You know. All right, then you get all these wrong balls sitting around and you sanctified and you trying to figure out what you doing. You know, we in the same congregation and we sanctified. It ain't the Holy Ghost, and all that kind of stuff. That's why I mentioned the culture of the kingdom. So everything has to be subject to the culture of the kingdom, and then you'll make it work. You don't bring stuff in that's against the culture, behavior pattern, set of a code of ethics, how you act, how you carry yourself. You don't allow that to come in and infiltrate. Okay, before we take this next question, could someone just post and tell us how long we've been on? That's someone to be Derek when I meet your text. Okay, thank you. Whoever. Yeah. Let us know because we want to. We may have to do a part 2 on this. Yeah. And just wanted to get a time span. And that's That's 5 questions. So that's 6 questions. Yeah. So now we got a bunch of them. So let's do 7 because I'm pretty sure I'm looking at this clock here too. Number 7. Oh. That's how long we've been on? Okay. All right. So we're gonna make this the last one tonight. All right. You know he can go on for 5 hours. Y'all do know that, right? See, I'm a real apostle. I actually did apostolic work outside of America, back in the bush, where he walked through the bush in mud, rains, fighting tigers, bears, and lions on mountain, and would stand and listen to you all day. But anyway, all right, that was a joke, but I did it for real apostolic work. Okay, number 7. What's the line between disciplining your children and abusing them? Mm-hmm. Okay, we got 3 types here of verbal abuse, emotional abuse, and physical abuse. So you have to look at that. Just because you're not whooping them don't mean you're not abusing them. Because you can abuse them emotionally through rejecting them. Yeah. And not respecting them and not spending time with them, hollering at them, cussing, not cursing, using harsh language. Let me put it, talking about what come out of your body, the waste that come out of your body, using those words. See, that's why I don't agree with that. I don't want to hear about waste coming out of a person's body and they back in and all that kind of stuff. You know, so talking to them like that. And then relative to
if you're gonna discipline them through spankings and stuff like that, well, you never do that when you're mad. And if
Right.
you're not, if your emotions are not under control, you don't do that. Neither one of them you do. Everything must be controlled and have a purpose behind it and have a result following. So it's easy to tell the difference. You don't holler at your kids, snatch them around. You know, people killing babies. Oh, grown butt man shaking a little boy. He need to be beat in the top of the head. That's what he need, his self. And a lot of this stuff is happening because those adults went through that stuff when they were younger, or they own drugs, or they emotionally they're not fit. People are married who should not be married. People have kids who should not have kids.
Right.
Okay. Everybody, really, you need to learn how to handle kids. So this right here is easy to tell when things are going too far. You never raise your voice at your children in a angry or bitter way, or angry or bitter tone. You have to catch it. You know, you have to catch yourself, and you have to deal with them like that. Don't withhold it, because if you do, we're going to have what we got, and that's you're going to add to another lawless citizen in a lawless society. That's why this COVID-19 is spreading the way it is, because people do what they want to do. When you tell them not to do something, they still go do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to stop right there. Each child is different, but discipline is necessary. Mm-hmm. We're going to end it there. And if you married and your parents are telling you not to discipline your kids, then you need to tell your parents that those are your kids and you appreciate them, but respect you and respect your house. They are your kids. And if you have determined that they need to be disciplined with a belt switch or whatever you use, and you don't bruise them and stuff like they need to feel this thing, then you do that. Mm-hmm. Just don't be hollering at them, because if you don't, they're going to be wild. You can't go out nowhere. They're going to be loud, running all over the place, embarrassing you.
Oh, yeah.
And things like that, because there's no order. Those children need order. They're not that cute. Thank you.
My mom used to say, "Oh, you embarrass me in public. Oh, I'm going to get you."
We didn't do stuff like that.
I'm going to get you.
You know, people around.
In public, I'm going to get you.
people around,
so we learned real quick.
Right. People, you know, and Renee caught it too, but I know people my age. I'm 59. People around my age, close to me, around me, you know, we don't understand all this stuff we seeing now.
Yeah.
We just don't get it. And it's not working, because the society is becoming more lawless. Mm-hmm. People are getting worse instead of getting better, because they have gotten away from things they should have stayed with.
And it's important. Mm-hmm. It's important to make sure that that we're disciplining them while they're small, as in giving instruction, correction, because when they're small, you know, they'll fall out, stuff like that. And if they know that they can get away with it, they'll continue to do it, and it's going to grow, and that monster's going to really grow. Mm-hmm. We were out at a restaurant, and my daughter and I, and the little boy was having a hard time, and I was like, I just need to look at him one time. And I just gave him a look, and then he just stopped. It was amazing. It was just amazing. And I just felt like he didn't have that in his home, mm-hmm. and he just needed a little bit of outside influences. That's all. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so we are certainly glad that you were able to join us on tonight.